I have to first point out that I'm a Syracuse graduate. I'm very proud of that. Currently I have a position at Stanford University at the Sexual Assault and Relationship Abuse Office. My title is also pretty long, Manager of Education and Emergency Response. Makes for a pretty long business card. A basic business card. Also, I'm co-founder of Masculinity U, which is what we like to coin the new national movement to engage men and boys in anti-violence work. I do want to acknowledge my co-founder in the work, Mark Peters. If you stand up for a second. So a little bit of what we do for Masculinity U is right now we have a national blog going, and actually I'd say international or even global, maybe a global blog. I think I need folks. It's being read by a lot of people, and the point of it is to really engage folks in this dialogue. So a lot of the times we're talking about meeting men and boys where they're at, and we don't really know where they're at, right? So by talking about it, sometimes that's the first step for a lot of people. I know in my own personal story, having these dialogues with folks at Syracuse in my foundation, this was the most important stuff for me to get into this work, to feel comfortable with it, to grapple with my own masculinity, to feel comfortable, letting people know where I'm going to meetings and things like that. So that's what we're essentially trying to accomplish with this Masculinity U organization. We're also in the works of making a nonprofit and doing some service work, on the ground with men and boys to really encourage them to figure out and redefine and maybe rethink what masculinity means for them. Because I suspect, because it happened to me, is that no one ever really stopped me to say, hey, how do you want to live, right? What's a boy, what's a man? So that's a little bit of where we're coming from in terms of Masculinity U, which I think really pertains to this panel. So a little bit of my focus will be talking about new media, this age of where we can literally text and tweet and all of these things, from our pockets, from our phones. And with that, we're also able to access this other world, not just talking to people, but hookup culture. We're able to kind of get sex through these forms of technology. So when it used to be knocking on someone's door and maybe sending flowers and chocolate in order to go to this step, now it's just sending a text to someone and saying, hey, you want to hook up, right? Or maybe it's sending a tweet to someone, or sending a Facebook message, or for some of you who are not too familiar with using Facebook, maybe poking someone. That kind of sounds a little like, hey, maybe you should get consent for that. We're not really sure what that means. So all these different things that can be happening. So with that, I think we need to kind of question, okay, maybe that sounds like a good deal to some people. It's really easy, cut to the chase. But maybe we take a step back and actually think about, well, where is consent coming into the picture here? I know I just joked about the poking thing, but when we're talking about texting and sending messages, where is consent, right? Does it just go out the door, or is it implied? Is it inferred, right? So we have to kind of question that, and I can go into a little bit more of that a little later, I guess. But I guess I'll point out the problems in my mind from this new age, from this technology. One being sexting. Okay, we kind of talked about it in the video, but I think when we really look at the issues, right, we're looking at sexual violence and domestic abuse, relationship violence as a whole. We can see that texting and tweeting and poking and all this stuff, it might actually create a dangerous space for hookup culture, for sexual assault to occur. I'd say because it could possibly eliminate the chance of a bystander, right? Because if it's just a text sent to someone, it's just those two people involved sometimes. So we have to kind of rethink, okay, how are we using primary prevention in this field now? I think it opens up the doors, and I personally don't have an answer for it. I do think that it can really eliminate that bystander piece. And then for example, something I'm thinking of, a lot of prevention or primary prevention curricula is based off of party scenarios, college students, maybe within athletics, right? All really great stuff, where we need to be with it. But if we're focusing there and we're not thinking about new media, what happens after 2 a.m. on college campus? What happens after 3 a.m.? Parties shut down, bystanders are kind of gone, and now hookup culture engages. 3 a.m. is like the booty call time slot. This is what it's called. So if you get a text on your phone at 2 or 3 in the morning, it's almost assumed for people, of this age, or, sorry, I didn't mean to just age everyone in the entire. I think I saw gray hair on myself. Better than try to tell. Sorry, I'm just trying to sorry. And now I just forgot where I was.
Booty call.
So it's basically inferred that whoever's texting you at that time, if it's a potential partner, that it's, okay, they're trying to get sex. It's a sexual acquisition of some sort. But what's really dangerous there is that, so that's assumed. What else is assumed? Maybe consent. That might also be inferred and assumed. And that's where we get really into the slippery slope, this really dangerous territory, I think. So it's something to really think about. And then just a couple other pieces to touch on. I think privacy comes up, right? So we talked about sexting and how that can occur. People sending pictures of each other. But I think we live in this misogynistic rape culture that we have to kind of identify. How is that working in this way? So I think we encourage our men and boys to actually send out pictures of their current or ex-girlfriends, their heterosexual men and boys, to send out pictures of their current or ex-girlfriends. So it could be to kind of prove, like, oh, hey, look what a great catch I just got. Or if they broke up, it's revenge. And somehow masculinity is equating to revenge, or revenge is equated to masculinity. So it's kind of a way to get, like, back up in this field. Right? So that's another place it can go. And then I think that also ties into pornography. Okay, which I was told that we should be talking about a little bit, so here's my little plug into it. I think with that, we're also living in this culture that not only are we distributing pornography that's super physically, emotionally, verbally abusive, right? Those acts within themselves, but then we're also encouraging that voyeuristic piece. People to send out pictures of their current or ex-partners, right? We have pornography sites that are themed off of, like names like and excuse language, my bitch ex-girlfriend, turning into pornography. Okay, so it either creates the theme of, or it actually allows folks, or men, to send out videos of the women in the rooms, right, in a very voyeuristic fashion. And we know for sure that consent goes way out the door there, or out the window, or it's just out, right? So that's a place where privacy and consent is thrown out again. And then I guess I'll talk about solutions, I guess, when we go there. I think that's all.